Today's high-intensity tech training begins now. We are continuing Cybersecurity Awareness Month as we take a look at securing the future, the strategies your clients must use to protect their organizations in the age of AI and these modern threats. AI, of course, is everywhere, but its usage must be secured. Human error must be reduced. Defenses must increase against phishing and deepfakes. Foundational controls must be in place, such as encryption, patching, backups, and zero trust principles have to be adopted. Today, we'll learn actionable strategies that you can provide your clients, whether in IT, security, or enablement, to protect their organizations from today's sophisticated attacks. Of course, your comments and questions are welcome in the chat window, to which our presenters today will respond both during and after today's event. Today, we welcome to the Tuesday call one of our favorites, Telarus VP of Information Technology, Stefanie Cortez. Great to see you, Steph. Thank you so much for being here today. How are you?
Good. Thanks for having me, Doug.
Oh, you bet. Such an exciting topic today. We appreciate you taking this on, and let us know how we can help along the way. But I've got my Crayolas and cardboard here at the ready. Go right ahead.
Sounds great. I think, Chandler, you have the slides there. Perfect. All right. So like Doug said, I'm Stefanie Cortez, VP of IT at Telarus, and I always joke that the security and compliance team doesn't necessarily light up a room when we walk in. So I appreciate you
That
being
is
here,
not true.
trying to stick with me today. Compliance walks in and people are like, oh no. So as you can probably tell from the wordy title, like technologists, like we're not always great marketers. So the bottom line of all these words is I'm here to talk about 5 things to focus on this month for cybersecurity. And I'll just say, like, nothing I'm going to say is probably brand new to all of you. Use it more like a gut check for yourself, for your organization, and for your customers. So next slide. So just, before we get into it, quick note from our legal team. The presentation is informational and educational only. It provides general guidance, not legal advice. You see these a lot in like Salesforce slides, so just same kind of disclaimer here. All right. So the new reality of the security landscape. The modern security landscape is changing so fast and rapidly, which again is what we all know. But AI has made it easier than ever to gather data about a person or a company for targeted attacks. What used to take hours of someone trying to like comb through sites or writing bots can now be done with like deep search and automation and AI. So think about capturing things from like LinkedIn, Facebook, like all these personal information about people can be done just with one quick search. And even with all these AI tools, like humans still remain our largest, weakest link within the security organization. So a Verizon data breach investigation report shows that nearly 70% of breaches still involve a human element. And often that still happens from like a single click or a misconfiguration on a server, something human caused. And in our industry, we're in a really unique position that we handle so many different people's personal data, and we have to protect that data. We have to, show good guidance to that data, be good stewards of it. And protecting that data builds trust, and trust builds reputation. So let's dive into these 5 areas that we're just going to do that gut check on this month. So AI is really that double-edged sword, and there's no bigger buzzword, right? Everybody is saying AI. Every CEO wants you to figure out how to use AI, but like, what does it mean, and how do you use it responsibly? So when used AI irresponsibly, it helps bad actors move faster. And when used with governance, it can be a really powerful productivity tool. So a couple of key reminders is that anything that you put in public AI is now public. That's how I want everybody to consider any public AI tool. Don't share anything in there that you wouldn't want posted online. So that means that we all need to set and train on our AI policies. So the average user, I really just think wants to work smarter, right? They don't want the risk. They just want to be told, like, here's my sandbox, like, here's what I can play in, and how can I use it to just, automate my tasks or make things easier. And then you're going to have those troublesome power users that just want to try everything. For there, you really need to like lean on your policies, lean on your training, and give a compliant sandbox for people to explore. It's really easy to set up private enterprise AI models. And really, I would just recommend that people do that before putting any corporate data into any tools. At Telarus, we're taking the enable and educate approach. And so that's kind of what I've called the leverage of our policy. And we're building all these different modules to define who our AI coworker is. So like what attributes matter to us? What are the morals of AI? How can we use it to challenge our thinking? Where can it push us further? I don't want AI to make decisions for me. I want it to help educate my decisions. So like I personally use a digital twin and it's loaded with a bunch of context about my role. It challenges me. It asks me all these clarifying questions. And you know what? That really frustrates the heck out of me sometimes. So I'm like, just give me the answer. But the fact that it frustrates me, it challenges my thinking. It means it's doing what I need it to do. It's like me fully rested, fully caffeinated, and it's on 24/7. But it is compliant and it is smart and it is helping me do better. It's not replacing who I am. So just as a reminder, policies, training, and enablement will only work if you validate and monitor them. Like anything AI right now is not a set it and forget it approach. Like things are moving so fast. We have to build a regular cadence to review and adjust as we move forward. And of course, number two, so users will continue to be our biggest risk. We can train all day long and we can send out all the phishing tests, but at the end of the day, users will sometimes still click. So at Telarus, we block thousands of emails a day, but if a known good sender gets compromised, that message, sometimes it can slip through. Users have to slow down. They have to question things that feel off. They have to be able to report things immediately and know who to report them to. I personally love that we're creating a culture of security awareness at Telarus. So like one night, a employee was out walking her dog and she walked by an office building and she saw someone in the office, so not Telarus office, but she saw someone in the office had left their computer unlocked. She didn't ignore it. She actually like snapped a picture. She put it in the company all chat. You know, we're all kind of joking about it. But like that's the awareness I love, right? She saw that. She's like, that's wrong. Like Stefanie would be so disappointed and we can all, you know, make a joke about it. But like that's going to help keep us strong. And it really does take constant reminders, constant training to the end users to keep that culture of security awareness top of mind. And of course, at the end of the day, like things still will happen. Monitoring and automation are so important. I would also say leverage that automatic remediation wherever humanly possible, because I don't want that 10 p.m. like Friday night alert where I'm like panicking trying to get to a computer. I don't want to be connected to my phone all the time. Like as an example, if somebody at Telarus has a impossible travel detected, or like we detect some kind of leaked credentials, we have that automated remediation that next time they try to sign in, they're going to be prompted to change their password. They're going to be prompted with actually two levels of 2FA. It's just going to reduce that panic alert. And it all comes down to monitoring and automation. And then the last kind of thing I want to put here is have an incident response plan. Your organization, your customer's organization, everyone should have an incident response plan and most importantly, test it. So I do mock exercises annually with my incident response plan. I don't want to ever train somebody in a real incident. Like, should I get an incident? I don't want to be walking them through what the process is. So train people so everybody knows what their roles are, how they can jump in, and how they can, you know, move that thing forward. Okay. So new phishing tactics, right? Again, you all know about these, but let's just talk kind of like top of awareness. So it's not just phishing anymore, right? We have the QR code phishing. We have video and voice scams with AI that are just so impressive. And then we have the good old SMS phishing. So with QR phishing, the biggest red flag is when somebody gets an email to scan a QR code to set up like an MFA. I see those come through for other organizations quite a bit. That should immediately trigger a like pause, think, ask somebody, right? The AI generation of video and voice messages to make it appear like it's coming from a CEO or someone in the C-suite to call you or send you a video, or the text asking for gift cards, right? The big thing to educate people on is like, does this context make sense? Like my CEO is never going to text me and ask me to buy gift cards, right? Like that just doesn't make any sense for like what I do in the organization. So I always train people like one, it's so hard because we all want to do more with less. We're all moving so fast, but we really have to do that pause, think and ask. And then at the end of the day, the best way to validate if something is, phishing is to actually pick up the phone and call somebody. So I don't like it when people are like, oh, I replied to the email and asked if it was them. Well, that's probably not the best way to do it. So call somebody on a good known number, right? And confirm, like, hey, I got this weird thing from you. Like, did this come from you? 99% of the time, it's going to be no. So of course, like these scams rely on urgency. So it's always they want you to move fast. They don't want you to have that second to pause. And so slowing down is really your best defense. And training people is where this all comes to. And it really does have to be top of mind, frequent training for the end users so that they are just have this awareness. And then the last thing that I see is that we have to watch out for the MFA fatigue. We have MFA on everything. So like I don't think my coffee rewards like needs a two-factor, but like that's where we're at as in the world. So we have to stop and not just hit approve. Really think like, hey, did I prompt for this MFA? If not, like hit deny. So try to combine into like single MFA tools or SSO where possible, and that's really just going to help reduce that fatigue. And then, of course, fundamentals, they're not flashy, they're just essential. Keep up with patching updates and backups. And then most importantly, test the backups. A backup that you can't restore to the original source is just really useless. And I think that the testing of these things is where a lot of people fall down. Patch your routers and your firmware, like check your home router, like see how many firmware updates you're behind on that. And then I also say check how many connected devices you have on all the routers and firmware. Enable MFA wherever you can. Reduce access in your cloud apps. So like even quarterly, I recommend that everyone go into all of your various cloud applications that you use to run your business and check in on your access levels. Do the right people have the right roles? Did anybody leave the organization? Or more importantly, did somebody change roles in the organization? Now maybe they have too much access. And then, of course, map your data, know where your data lives, how it's connected, where it's sent, how it's sent. And then anytime somebody wants to use a new tool, review that new tool against your data map. It's going to make it really easy to see like, hey, where does this fit in? Where is there any risk? And just remember that the boring stuff isn't, the basics aren't boring. The basics can be boring sometimes, right? But they are your best defense. And making sure we do all of these things just allows you to just do business faster on the newer tools and in a compliant security way. And then on to the last step here, adopting a zero trust mindset. So I know even 5 years ago, we were talking about the network perimeter a lot. That's really gone. We work everywhere now. So identity has really become the new security boundary, in my opinion. We always need to make sure we're applying that principle of least privilege, don't overextend access. And I look at that protects the organization and the end users. Like my operations users don't need access to financial data. Like that's just not a risk that they need. So I'm going to make sure I'm protecting the end users and the organization with that principle of least privilege. And then this is probably the 5th time I've said it so far, but alert and monitor. So use real-time alerts and automated remediation wherever possible. I always like to pull logs into a central source and flag for anomalies. You'd be amazed at a lot of what the suppliers can do nowadays. So being able to pull in all my logging and just use AI to say like, hey, like this is unusual for this user type. That's going to help you find things a lot quicker. And then always just assume something will get compromised. I always say like trust nothing. And then of course, slow down and reduce that risk. So let's bring it all together. Obviously, the modern threats are AI, people, and process. That really is like what I consider the security triangle. And when governed well, all of these 3 things can be used combined to drive modern success. So leverage new tools wisely, validate, and then of course, test them, like I've said a few times, and then train and empower your end users That's going to keep your business and your customer's business running smoothly and allow you to respond to risk quickly, but also use these new AI tools and additional tools to be able to run your business and get productivity out of them. And then just to wrap it up, because it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. So here's your kind of call to actions. Audit your AI tools. I'm sure that you all use a lot of tooling. Customers use a lot of tooling. It's a really good time to audit them because they're changing so frequently. And what people are using today may not be what they're using even in 30 days from now. So identify where sensitive information might be exposed, document what tools are being used, and then even more important, if a tool is abandoned, make sure you delete the data from that tool. People set up trials all the time and try a bunch of things, which is fine, but we want to make sure that we're actually like shutting down those accounts when not in used. Of course, refresh security training, security awareness, top of mind, very important. And make sure that they're reflected of modern tactics, not just stuff that was important even a year ago. Review the fundamentals, patching, like I said, check the router in your home office even for firmware updates. Check that MFA is set up on all the tools that have sensitive data, and then just do that gut check of the zero trust mindset. So like I said, it's all foundational, and hopefully somebody found something valuable or just top of mind reminders for this month. That's it for me. Thank you.
Great presentation, Steph. We're talking with Steph Cortez. She's the VP of IT at Telarus and very heavily involved, of course, with our own use of AI and so many other tools that we're using internally. Steph, just a couple of questions, if you don't mind, that our partners have brought up and that I've made a few notes about here as well. I know there are so many people that have questions about the difference between publicly available AI tools and resources versus those that are set up privately in an organization and the security concerns involved with each. We talked a little bit about private AI models and tools at the start of this call. Want to expand on that just a little bit as to what organizations should be looking for in terms of how they set up AI for their employees to use?
So my kind of new path going forward with AI tools is that like to make it private, you have to pay for them, right? So if an organization wants to lead into AI and try out these new tools, to make them private, like it's going to have some kind of like seat costs associated to it. At that point, then you'll get like the security and compliance settings. So I would say like start with one, set it up, provision it correctly, and then use that AI tool to actually help you research any additional ones that you're going to set up. So like that's really what I've done. But yeah, private traditionally means paid.
I think a lot of people tend to forget that the more we use, especially publicly available AI tools, you're essentially contributing to the training of that tool and putting additional information in there. Is there an issue that we all need to be concerned about in terms of the things that we're asking AI to do that then further trains those models to either make the information better or make the information worse that AI is generating for us? What can we do as users to help ensure the integrity of AI tools that we're involved with?
Yeah, so that one's tough, right? So I would just say first, once you set up a private kind of paid for account, traditionally, and it's not all AI tools, right? But some of the tools you can say like, don't use my data to train the model. So that's what I would recommend for most people, just because there's a ton of other people putting personal stuff into public AI models to use to train that data. When it comes down to like good or bad data, that's really where like I just think look at the results you're given and do some validation on them. Like even putting together this presentation, I put notes together and then said, hey, like make some suggestions. And it gave me some like wildly inaccurate like numbers, right? Like 90% of this, 60. And so I was like, where did you get this from? And it's like, I don't know. So I would just say, then tell it it's wrong. Like, hey, like that is not good information for me. You can help retrain it back like that if we're using the public models. And I would just say, like, take it all with a grain of salt. And each person I talk to that uses AI models differently does get a different tone or response back from the model. So it's not really like a replacement for something, right? Just you got to kind of keep that in mind. It's going to learn from you and what you like and kind of answer in the way that you want it to in some cases.
You made such a great point at the beginning about AI and similar tools. These are just tools. They're there for us to use. They're not necessarily designed to be a replacement for us. And so we have to be very careful about how we use them and make sure that we're not putting undue trust in them. You mentioned at the start that, as with everything that we've seen over the last few years, users can, of course, be the biggest risk. We've emphasized security awareness training for some time. Forrest made a great comment here in the chat. Are there preferred vendors or good places that advisors and their clients can go to help design security awareness training for their organizations?
Yeah, so there's a lot of tooling out there, and it depends on what I would actually say first look at like what is in your existing tool set today. So like I'm not saying Microsoft has the best, right? But like if you have a customer on Microsoft, there's actually like pre-built phishing campaigns and training should somebody fail. So if somebody's looking at how to get started and doesn't really want to invest in that spend or invest in a lot of time, a lot of the tools people have already for like their email will have like something to leverage. And then of course there's a lot of availability out there from different suppliers, even within the Telarus portfolio that can help with that.
One of the greatest comments I've heard recently was down at the bottom of one of your slides there, where it says, if it feels urgent, it's probably fake.
Yeah.
Uh, that is such a good rule of thumb for so many of the things that we're doing in this business. But it's such a paradox in a way because AI and similar tools are designed to make us faster and more efficient. And yet we've got to remember to put the brakes on it occasionally and say, look, is this asking for immediate action? Is it just sounding too urgent, too good to be true, those sorts of things, and slow things down a little bit? The information is great, but it's still really on us to determine whether or not this is something we should pursue or not, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So I always say, like, just because we can doesn't mean we should,
There you
right?
go.
It's something how I try to approach a lot of things. Like, hey, this is great, but like, does this make sense, scalability or long term, right? Like, so really challenge yourself that way. And then, so things coming to you with that frequency, unfortunately, that does come down to that user and how they're feeling that day, right? Are they already overwhelmed? Are they going to run through things? Is that going to add that little level of stress to get them to respond quickly? So that's like where the constant annoying reminders come in. And then when you get things from some kind of like AI tooling, that's like if you're on a private model, you can give it those morals, right? So I would just highly recommend like you feed your AI model with the knowledge and context about you, about your organization, and you're telling it like, hey, as a Telarus employee, as an example, these things are important to us, right? Like these are how we treat each other. This is how we talk to each other. Give it that context so it has like a level playing field of even where to start from.
Great response. Frank asks a good question here in the chat. Who are some of the providers that help set up a private LLM? As our advisors go out and talk to their clients, we've heard so many state, and we've said it here on this call, AI is not necessarily a product or something. No one says, I'll take three AIs with a side of fries kind of thing. But in terms of being able to set up, for example, a private LLM, other tools that can then access and use AI in an organization, who are some of the providers that you're aware of that we work with or that you'd recommend for additional information on those?
So I would say that is a really good question for the sales engineers because I don't know.
That's the best answer right there.
Yeah, but they will know, and they'll know who's best of breed and how people are combining and the various AI tools. Because I really do think where we're coming to is actually not just like leveraging one model, but multiple models within one single UI. And I know that I even was talking to Josh Lepresto. He did a demo with one of them this week. So
In just general terms, then, for Security Awareness Month, you had a great slide up there. And Chandler, if you don't mind putting that back up about don't skip the basics, we can throw that back up there. Talk just a little bit more about this, if you would, Steph, while we've got a second. What are the things, again, that users should be doing now and that our advisors should be doing now to help encourage them to make sure they don't skip over the basics when looking to augment their existing AI or their new AI services?
Yeah, so I think the one of the big things for me is always the data governance. Like I said, have the data map know where it lives. The second that we set up any new like cloud processing system, meaning it doesn't have to be software, right? But just something you're logging into online and putting data into, your data is now exposed there in potential breach. So just challenging before you start up anything new, do you understand where your data is today before you add yet another new place? So depending on the size of the company, if you get a subject access request from a customer that says, hey, like I'm a California resident, I want to know where you have my email and personal information. Do you have 5 places to look or do you have 27 places to look? And so you're going to want five in that case. You're going to take a week looking for all the data. So I think that that one is really important, especially when end users are enabled to go set up these own accounts. Unless you're really strict on your computer policies and your browsing policies, users can go sign up for trials, right? And set up whatever they want to and start putting data in there. So doing an audit of where things are at, how the data is flowing, to me is just really important, especially as we start looking at these new tooling. And then do another quick check on the MFA that you're using and where you're using it. So especially if you have some, like every organization has things that are used across the corporation and some that are used just department specific. Really go to those department leaders and ask like, hey, do you have MFA set up on here? Like if you don't, let's get it set up. If you can't have it, like, why are we using this tool? You'd be surprised when you do an audit, and those type of things will create entry points into your data and cause you, potential risk.
Terrific
Um,
advice. And you reminded me that I need to check this router over here. I haven't looked at this for a while either. So I've got my own project set up for Security Awareness Month this month. Just a great presentation, great reminders all the way around. As Steph mentioned, the Telarus engineering team and our sales engineers are always available for you with your questions and concerns. If you've got an opportunity, sit down with one of our engineers and let them tell you about what we offer through Telarus and through our associated suppliers that can help your clients. And take advantage of this month when everybody is thinking about security awareness to make certain that you're talking about these issues with your clients as well. If you need some additional resources, look at telarusuniversity.com. We have some great courses back there on AI and some of the vendors that we use for that. And of course, talk to us anytime. Steph, great presentation today. Thanks for indulging us on some questions as well. Any last words you want to throw in before we move on?
no, I guess the last word would be like everything you do, make sure you test it. So
There you go.
that would be my closing words. Thanks, everybody.